Hey guys, this is Alex Henry Foster, and you're listening to Interview Under Fire.
All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to a brand new edition of Interview Under Fire. This is your host, Sunny, along with a very special guest, Canadian singer-songwriter, author, and activist, best known for fronting the Montreal alternative rock band, Your Favorite Enemies, Alex Henry Foster. Quite the honor, man. Thank you so much for joining our podcast today in IUF. You know, this is an important yet exciting time of the year for you with the latest release, Standing Under Bright Lights live album from the Montreal Jazz Festival LP, releasing April 16th on Hopeful Tragedy Records. Now, I want to say congratulations on all of the well-deserved recognition it's been getting so far, especially with that breathtaking and emotional Son of Hannah single that dropped recently. You know, shout outs to the other revered publications like American Songwriter, Brooklyn Vegan, Prog Magazine. I've said so much already, and there's just so much to unravel. But, you know, I just want to ask a very important question, Alex, before we get to all that. How are you, man? I know you're in Virginia right now. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes. I'm great. Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be on the show, honestly. And I was looking forward to it because I love the format. I love how natural we can be. It's not about like selling anything. It's really a conversation. So I was really looking forward to it because you never know, you know, when you've got that connection, that's the most, at least for me, the most important thing when you're talking with someone is to have that connection rather than trying to just to have like your little lines to pitch your things.
Yeah.
So that's why I was very happy. It's very beautiful here in Virginia. So now spring's slowly coming. So it's very, I'm very blessed. I'm very happy.
No, I'm happy to have you here as well. And I know you're originally from Montreal. We talked about this in a pre-interview.
Yes.
What's the biggest change or difference you have noticed between the two places you've resided? Like, is the music scene drastically changed for you? Like, what is it about Virginia that stands out to you?
I think obviously it's completely different because I'm from the island of Montreal. A lot of people are moving in because it's very artsy. You've got a lot of diversity. It's rich culturally, and you've got all sorts of genres of music and art and food, and people in general are super awesome. And you've got like two main cultures, which are French and English, and you get all the others that are coming with. And so there's no real differences. We don't feel like there's differences between people. We don't think or see the other people like this through what they look like or the language they speak, their religion or whatever. This is really like, okay, let's share. Let's create something. So there's a lot of things coming from the outside. You're inspired by a lot of things going on around you, and which is awesome. But in Virginia, when I came here, I moved here right after I spending like 2 years in Morocco in Tangier. So that was already a big change, you know. I was living in the middle of the old city, very artsy as well, but it's the people, the way they live, that was very inspiring. But again, it was something that was coming from a bit of the outside world, because you're always, you know, stimulated by something that's very incredible. Here in Virginia, I live in the mountains, and it's completely different. It's very calm. So the inspiration needs to come from within. So because, you know, I never really, I grew up living in projects, you know what I mean? You know, that type of
I mean, Dallas is full of them, so I can definitely relate to that.
Like, you realize pretty quickly that you're like maybe 15 years past, you know, trendy when you go to school with in a different district, you know. That's right, that's very futuristic. So I never like been very attracted to the notion of nature or things like that. A lot of people that have had the privilege to I don't know, to go in different places and to have like you know, I grew up, I didn't have like a backyard, so I wasn't like, oh my God, you know, here's like, this is like a tree or birds. And so here it's a complete different environment, because you need to, you're part of something greater than yourself, and you cannot wait for other people to inspire you. You need to find inspiration from within, from the environment you're in. So, and it's more about musing about life rather than being in the stream of life. So that's the big difference between being in a place where it's fast paced, it's the East Coast, so there's a lot of thing going on, and you're always looking for the new thing. Here, if you don't pay attention, everything looks the same. So that could be for someone like me, coming here at first, I was like, at the beginning, it was awesome, great. It's a wonderful place, very isolated, very quiet. But as much as I wasn't able to wake up in the morning hearing like feedbacks and noise because I was like living with the other bandmates. So after a while here, when you're just like, I'm wondering what's going on outside. Kind of looks like yesterday, So you need to have a better understanding of what's within rather than just looking for something exterior to be that stimulation that you need. So that's different. I'm already too spiritual.
There's no such thing as being too spiritual, by the way. I can relate to that. Again, and you said it perfectly, because it's easier said than done to be involved in the things that you're involved in. You touched on Morocco for a second. I do want to talk about that a little bit later, which is, I'm excited to talk about that. But I want to touch on, Alex, you've been at this for over 10 years in your career, probably even longer than that, whether it's your solo work or the Riddlers or your favorite enemies or the Long Shadows. And I want to ask, how was the live experience and the touring life for you personally? Because you've done some extensive touring throughout your career. You've toured through Canada, Europe, Asia, Australia, US. And now, we talked about this again pre-interview. We're all taking an unexpected step back. And does it make you have a growing appreciation of the touring life, considering we're a year removed from that experience?
Yeah. But what's very strange for me, it's when I was especially with your favorite enemies, because we toured so much, and I never been able to really appreciate any of it because I was always like so anxious. I was always having those kind of like panic attacks, like stage fright. And it was very, very difficult for me. And I was like to the point where I got ill, very like seriously ill. But we kept going and going and going because you don't want to be the one who's telling, especially, telling your friends, well, you know what, guys, I don't feel really comfortable in that environment. So, see you later. So that was very, very difficult for me, to the point where the way I was trying to cope with that was that when I was on stage, in order to conquer that fear, it became like a self-destructive kind of motion, because I was like jumping from second floor balcony, and for everybody in the crowd, I mean, it must have been like very entertaining, but it's not very sustainable if you want to live a little longer,
I've seen those videos.
So, and for me, I was like I had to become something else. And when I left and I took I had to take a little break from that band, that was something that I needed to address and to realize that for me at that point, it wasn't necessarily that I was like scared of being on stage. It was more like fear of failure, fear of to disappoint, to not to be able to connect with people, and to fail yourself, to fail the people around. And it's something that you cannot very comprehend, because it's very emotional, and when you're in that motion, it's just like going faster and faster and faster until you can take it no more. And so I wasn't able really to appreciate as much as I should have had, because we were so blessed. I mean, to tour the world, we never had like a plan to say, well, okay, we're going to do that, and then here we are. So we're coming from nothing. We're completely independent, do it yourself, only the power of friendship. But at the end of that motion, it was so self-destructive that I had to take a little break. And that's why now with that project, because I went through so much introspection, and went through, also I've been able to mourn my father and all those things. I think that I've been able to not only to appreciate it more, but I'm just comfortable to be myself. And then
Yeah.
not to, I'm still, stressed, anxious, doing interviews. I'm still not very comfortable. And there's always that shadow that comes with me that okay, well, what's going on? But now that's what I realized during the last tour we did, in Europe, that it was okay to say, well, oh, I'm starting to be a little bit more stressed and anxious. So now I just need to take it slow a little, and just to appreciate, and to go and talk with people. So the way I've been able to go through that was to connect with people in a very personal way, before the shows, after. So you've got that sense of community. So it's not about you no more. It's about connecting with people. So that's what I really rediscovered, because at the beginning of your Veered Enemies, that was really what was driving me in such a way. But I kind of lost it, because suddenly, there's expectations. Oh, suddenly you're on the radio. Oh, suddenly you're being offered like big gigs, and then it's just like, wait a minute, and then everybody's kind of looking at you, obviously, because I was like the most talented. No,
No, that's
you're the
true.
lead singer. Everybody's looking at you, and there's some kind of an expectation, and it goes, when you're not able to deal with that, and you're not surrounded by people that have a bit more experience. So, well, you know what? It's normal, because you're having difficulties to cope with, and to that level. I mean, It's not even like being like to be a celebrity or whatsoever, but just to have people that are expecting you and that they want to connect with you. It's, for me, coming from my little place in Montreal, where the only connection I had with people was after school, when people were coming to beat me up. So that was very different, to be suddenly like someone who was like looked after. So for me, that was a very difficult process that got me, in a very dark place. But I think that's the beautiful thing, when you take a break and you're able just to face yourself and just say, well, okay, so what's going on here?
Yeah.
So that's why it's a long answer, but it's, right now I'm living, it's like, a renaissance of something. You're able to rediscover things. What wasn't that tasty before, and bitter in a way. Now you're able to appreciate it, because you're just like, hey, let's share. So that's my mindset right now.
I think everything that you've been talking about, and good God, that really resonated with me, considering I was born in Bangladesh. I grew up poor. I had nothing. And now I'm here, hosting one of my favorite artists on my own show. Like, I get what you're saying, because it's easy to lose track of yourself during all that success. You need to push everything, at least I think, to the side, to actually just regain your focus, figure out who you are, why were you doing this in the first place. And I think you have a clearer image on what you're about. Does that make sense? You get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, that's also allowing yourself to connect with what's going on within, and to allow yourself also to say, well, we're evolving, we're growing. I know it sounds like, kind of strange to say, but when you're starting that, and the only desire you have is to spend some time with your friends, and to have, like, gigs here and there, and you're writing music, that it's coming, especially for us, that it's coming really from what you're living, and maybe the struggles, expectations, or what you might dream of. And suddenly, when you realize that it resonates with other people, and you don't want to be turned into like a spokesperson for those emotions, but you don't quite understand at first, you just go with the flow. And at one point, it's fun, because it's amazing, and then you're just like trying not to draw on, you're in the flow, but suddenly you're just like losing your step, and you just don't know what's going on.
Exactly.
And to the point where you don't appreciate anything no more, and you don't want it there. And I think that for me, I just had it in my face when my father passed. 4 days after, we were headlining a huge festival in Taiwan in front of 90,000 people. And honestly, it just, and I don't say that because just to brag about it, because it was so, I wasn't able to feel anything. I was just like there doing my little rodeo, whatever. And I just realized, just like, who in the world would be here? It just doesn't
Kind
make
of like,
sense.
why am
At
I
least to
here?
me. Yeah, I mean, what's going on? And that moment kind of broke something inside. And after that, I kept going for a while. But when I stopped, that was one of the first things that it was important for me to revisit. And I think that to kind of let go of that, to learn, and then you're in the healing motion where you can say, well, okay, it's crazy. So
Yeah.
that's why for me now, everything, especially that with your favorite enemies, it had a certain identity to this whole thing. You know, you're with your friends, and there's a certain, we're doing things a certain way. And now I don't have that pressure no more. It's really something that it's completely free, and that's something that I like, because it's about the spirit of the music rather than, you know, how cool of a riff I can have in, you know, a radio single. So right now it's completely different. And I don't say that it wasn't good, that it's not even judgmental. It's just something else that I wanted to explore, something else that I wanted to touch, just to see what was there. And when I had the opportunity to go back on the road, that was something that I wanted to share with the people. You know, that moment, that essence of being in the now, and to see where it leads us, rather than just like, well, you know, I've got all those songs, everything is organized, and boom. So here comes the show.
Yeah, and this is something that's very important to me when I read about this, because speaking of sharing, now, Alex, I know you're a big advocate for human rights and social activism, like I mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
and it's something that you take to heart. And in June of 2020, you know, I saw this. You launched a campaign called "Silence is Murder." You know, in the face of like racial and social injustices and violence outbreaks happening around the world. You know, I mean, Dallas was just a mess. And a couple of months later, following the loss of a dear friend of yours in France to suicide, you launched another campaign and mask collection called "Alive Never Alone," and to raise awareness about suicide and mental health issues. And those proceeds went to the Montreal organization, Suicide Action Montreal.
Yeah.
And coming from someone who myself, who deals with mental illness as well, like I absolutely loved what you did. What was your biggest personal takeaway from those specific experiences?
I think it was to just, it's always difficult to talk about that, because you don't want to put yourself in front of, you know, the reasons why you're doing it. And for me, it's really because I was moved, I was touched, but also because I felt powerless for a moment when I saw images, when I saw reactions, and when everything kind of burst out. I was honestly, a lot of people were writing to me, and were just like, we need to do something. And I was like trying to say, well, what can I do that might be beneficial and positive in the midst of something that it's almost impossible to find any kind of, you know, positive.
Yeah.
So that was very difficult for me at first, because you know, at the very beginning, I was like so proud. So, well, I'm an activist, and sometimes when you're too much into it, you kind of lose the perspective that it's not about you and your cause. It's about the people. It's about connecting with people. And when you're too much into it, you kind of lose the perspective of the people around. And when Alive came, for me, I was like devastated. I was devastated. It was like, I was so sad, and I didn't know how to approach this. How can you talk about such a very delicate subject? There's no, you know, there's no way you can find words to share about something that it's very difficult to comprehend, and at the same time that it's difficult to understand. in a very deep way. So it's through connecting with people. So rather than being an activist, it's good to take a little step back and just to say, well, let's connect on the human connection here. So what do we have here? Rather than joining the parade and to be in the hoorays and the hoorah and the, I like to take a step aside now and just to look around and see people for who they are, regardless of where they stand in the spectrum of life, maybe like socially, politically, religiously. I don't care about that no more. I'm not looking for my peers. I'm looking for someone that might be looking for someone else as well. So then you can, instead of I've been reflecting about a lot recently. When you're inviting people in your own environment, in your own setup, in your own mindset. When you're welcoming someone, it feels like it's more of a communion than you're allowing that other person to be whatever that person is. And then you can bridge. So that's where I am right now. And that's why with the Alive project, that's really what got me into that motion, rather than just being an activist and just like, well, we need to stand up. And I always been that guy, just like, well, wait a minute, what's going on?
No, I understand. No, I understand. Alex, you're one of the most humble people I've ever had on their show. And I think with everything that you just mentioned, kind of just standing up for what's right. At least I can attest to that. I feel like it's important to find solace in midst of all this chaos. And you have been doing that. You've been channeling your, I guess, trying to a way to be productive instead of just sitting there and just kind of just wallowing in the misery, because I've been there, it's been a constant.
It's human nature. It's normal.
Yeah. So I think it just goes hand in hand with everything that you've done. And I hope you continue to do it. I know it's, again, this goes back to like, putting out the records you have, because like, okay, it's easy to lose focus on who you are as a person. If you have all the success, it's the same thing. It's the same thing with, being an activist, being a social rights, kind of a leader in that aspect. And again, I'm just a fan out of millions out there. I hope you don't lose that. And I think you should, I love that, what you're doing with it. So thanks for sharing that. I really appreciate you doing that. Now, I know we covered
everything. Call me out. If I do change, call me out. Just like, hey, you.
Hey, man, I'm going to help you book a show in Dallas. So we're going to stay in touch, obviously, after this.
Of course, I hope so.
We will. And I know we covered everything from head to toe. I promise we'll talk about that new live album now. Standing Under Bright Lights comes out April 16th on Hope and Tragedy. It's like, why are we even doing this interview? Like, we should just stop right there. Now this is the follow-up to the 2018's epic solo album Windows in the Sky. That for my listeners who don't know, that album debuted at number 3 on the Canadian Top 200, number 1 in Canadian iTunes, scored a nomination for the best album of the year in Canada while being internationally acclaimed, added to several best albums shortlists all over the world. I mean, there's not enough great things I have to say about that. And you've been compared to the likes of, Nick Cave and Sonic Youth, Mogwai, Godspeed You, Black Emperor. These two releases back to back, Alex, for me, it just felt so cathartic, so transcending, one of the most emotional and atmospheric listens that I've experienced. But this all started before that with the personal dear loss of your father. May he rest in peace. I know you mentioned that briefly earlier. If you just want to talk about that specific timeline for a second, and that led to the releasing to this live performance and album, because you also mentioned how it was an emotional detox for you during those 5 years, correct?
Yeah. True. Yeah, I think that when we released our last album with Your Favorite Enemies, and it kept going on and on and on and on, and I was like in a position where I wasn't able to be pushed. I wasn't able to be in that position no more. And when my dad passed, just something, just like I said, just broke, and I was kind of lost, because I was the way he was, because I had the chance to, we never been in really good terms up to that point. but I'm so fortunate that I've been able to be with him at the very end. And my father was a really a man of faith. And so at the end of his life, just to see him like being so joyful, and for me, just like freaked me out. It was just like, wait a minute. I mean, this is just crazy. And even though I was very happy for him, obviously, you don't want to leave and go and be miserable. But for me, it was like very confronting in my where I wasn't in my life, because I wasn't happy. I was in complete denial of my own with my own issues, mental issues. So then I kept going after, but then at one point I had to stop, and I said, well, I need to go. I need to leave for a moment and see what happened. And then I left for Morocco, for Tangier. Right. And so it was supposed to be like maybe a month or so. I just like put myself and so, well, I'm going to write the next record. And, I just needed like something to give me a reason to go there, because obviously it wasn't about me and going into an emotional detox. I mean, so I just I just needed an excuse just to rely to and just to talk with everybody, just to control the narrative. Just, I'm good. No worries, guys. Now it's time to move on. But I was completely in a total burnout, depressed. So, and that time, that 1 month turned into 2 years. And that was a very pivotal moment for me, because then I had the decision to take of just to keep feeding that illusion all the time and just becoming something that I knew I wasn't no more, or just to say, well, again, I'm going to take a chance and dive in and see what's there to understand, or what's there to address that keeps me in such a state of, being so desperate and so miserable. So that became, and it was a slow process, obviously. And then I kept writing and writing and writing, and all the nonsense and all the things that, that you want to just throw out, and, because shit, you know what I mean? Just like, no. But slowly I realized that it was becoming a little bit clearer. And then I was starting to write a little bit more with clarity, I would say, or more honesty. Mm-hmm. And so it wasn't about like me pretending no more. It was really just me being like, well, I'm completely lost. I just don't understand anything no more. What's going on with my life, where I lost myself. So then I was writing in that book. And when I went, and then I had a studio there, because I had to do something of my life. After 2 years, you're just can't stay there and drink some tea.
You could. I hate them. Hey, I heard the tea. I heard the tea is amazing out there. Just saying. Anyway, we could talk about that on a whole separate episode.
You gotta get busy, So I had like a little studio, and I was like doing movie scores, but then I started to record some of those songs. And it was very out of complete ambition. I was not even looking to release those songs. It was completely in a free format. I wasn't, really thinking about it much. And later, when I decided to release it, it was really for me. I didn't even know what I wanted to do with it. And so that's why I'm always kind of smiling and laughing when people are saying, oh, it's just like the record, you charted this. But for people who were in the room when we were talking about releasing the record, and me, I was like, like this, and, I just don't know. It's so personal. I don't know if I want to be like put in that position again. I just don't know if I want to keep going, like doing music. And, I was the smallest little thing in a corner of the room. And now people, it's been like, you charted, and, I just get it. I smile because it's those moments reminds you like how precious it is to be honest with yourself, and just to say, well, I took a chance, but I was surrounded by wonderful people around me that just like told me like, look, dude, I know it's difficult for you. but I think it would be, if you want to, we'll be there if whatever happens, and then we'll be there to support you, whatever, you know. And then after, and for me, it was like, okay, that's under the radar, you know, just like no promo, no nothing. So then I'm safe. You know, I did it, I released it, you know, conscience clean.
Now we can drink some tea.
Yeah, exactly. Now we can go back and, you know, and spending like a few more years, you know, release an album. So then I've got my credentials for 3 more years of drinking teas.
There you go.
And, but then it just like blew out, and just like, and then I really freaked out, because
yeah,
that big wave of the past came back. I just like all the anxiety and everything. But it was good, because I had to say, well, okay, it's true, it's real. I really feel like this. I'm completely over my head right now. I need to take some time. And so I really took it slow. I didn't really knew how to address it. I didn't want to do like much press. I did like a few interviews with people that I knew, that I respect, that I was happy to be like you on their show, or in their magazine. But really like things that were where I felt comfortable and kind of in a safe place at that point. And so I left it there like this. And after I had like the opportunity to do the Montreal Jazz Fest, and I didn't want to do it at first. I wasn't, my biggest fear was to go on stage and just to freeze and just like, well, and just, I'm sorry guys, I need to leave and I'm just not comfortable. And because, you know, all those songs were so intimate, and I didn't know if I would be able just to be able to live and share those songs rather than just like perform the songs.
Yeah.
So, but I kept, you know, I kept going, and then I figured, well, if we are like 11 people on stage, so then maybe I won't feel like I'm the only guy stuck there, you know, in front of everybody. It was because for me, people were just
that
like,
makes
wow,
it
that's
easier.
amazing, you know.
I can relate to that too.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, you want to share this with me? If you stay up with me, it'll be easier.
Yeah,
then I can actually do what I want.
Guys. It's on you guys. And yeah, and then I slowly started to just to allow myself to rediscover those songs, and I didn't want to lose the perspective of what those songs meant, you know, by playing them over and over and over again. So the way I approached it was like, okay, we need to be a very fluid kind of band, because I'm going to call the shot like live, whatever I feel it. So then it was very weird for the rest of the band. We're just like, you know, oh, wow, that sounds like a very good idea. And then everybody's kind of like, it's crazy. So it was very, all the impros, and it became something more emotionally driven, because it was in the midst of the moment rather than just like, okay, and 2, 3, then switch. You know,
can I add something to that? Because
yes, of course.
By the way, Alex, I'm going to tell you something. One more thing. If it wasn't for the music you put out, I would not be here today. So I know you talk about how you don't want to lose the impact of the original song. You don't want to. How do you say? You don't want the song to lose its tenacity, its strength, its purpose by performing it over and over, which is easy to do. A lot of bands do it in festivals, tours now and then. I totally get it, but look at this. The reason why we connected is because, I mean, not only for the past work, but because of this work specifically. At a time like now, I just think it's just that much more impactful. Anyway, okay, back to what I was going to say. You know, you talked about the 11-piece band that was put together. You talked about to me, it was an immersive cinematic experience. It didn't even feel like a show anymore at that point. And it was a movie projection, like produced by you. And then you had the award-winning light engineer, Pascal Boyle. He created that unique scenic installation. I mean, look at everything that I'm just talking about. You put this work out there for the world to see. And I think you did the songs justice, which I think it's easy for any artist to say. I think for any fan to say, it's like, okay, you should have done this. but man, you went all out, and I think it's definitely something to be proud of. Now, Standing Under Bright Lights, that also features, like I said earlier, that never released song, Son of Hannah, with Ben Lemelin, your longtime creative producer, co-producer and creative partner on Windows in the Sky as well. And he also decided to work on the concert film and on the upcoming book titled If Only the Voices in My Head Couldn't Lie. Is that true?
True.
Yeah, and that's
you've got a lot of information. I'm scared now.
No. It's
what else do you know? What else do you know?
I'm just really excited to see all this work that you put out. But what I'm trying to get at is describe that relationship with you and Ben. You know, what is it about him and that brings out some of your best work? Because I know you talked about the many people you've collaborated with. Let's talk about him for a second. I know he's important to you.
I don't want to talk about anybody else. No, I'm just kidding.
Next topic.
It's all about me. It's all about
We're
me.
all out of the place.
Yeah, it's Alex Henry Foster. No, I'm just kidding.
Don't you get it?
Yeah, exactly. It's a solo act now. Please.
Oh man, this is great.
No, Ben is a wonderful. First, he's a wonderful person, very, very, very talented. But I think that beyond that is the fact that we've been able to create our own language also in a way, because we're coming from complete different places. You know, is a real he was like he grew up in metal, like dark, you know, like it wasn't dark enough, you know, like it needs to be darker than whatever might be like as dark as possible. And Mia was coming from like more of the Sonic Youth, experimental, you know, all the nonsense that you can say, oh wow, this is amazing, and everybody's kind of like, yeah, but doesn't know how to play guitar. Yeah, but it's not about that, you know, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So and we bridged something like this because it was about creating something that wasn't tangible in a way, because he knew Ben was sensitive enough to understand, because we're very good friends. He's one of my best friends, and he knew I think he had a very good understanding of what I've been through and why I'm doing music. So when we're talking about I want to touch the invisible, you know, just like most of the people around would be like, here we are again, you know, just like, oh, maybe it's time for the NyQuil, Alex, you know, time to go to bed. But with
I can just
Ben,
imagine, like, whenever you do a show like Alex, we're just gonna be like, well, here they go again. Like, that's just gonna be like an inside joke now going on forward.
Exactly. But Ben has been able to understand that I didn't want to go. You need to leave those songs the freedom to evolve beyond yourself, because when you're looking for absolute, and that's what I experienced before in different setup, it's the fact that you have so much a clear understanding of those songs that they cannot breathe. You know, those songs will be the same forever. But me, I was looking for something completely different. I was looking for something that has the ability to evolve and guide us somewhere else, rather than me guiding the whole thing. I was looking for something that would be alive, something that would be able to grow if I'm out of the way, if I let go. And that's very difficult to do, because you need to rely a lot of your instinct, and you need to trust your gut feeling, rather than, oh yeah, that part is awesome. Because when we were rehearsing, and that was the biggest thing for Ben, was to unlearn everything he knew and everything he was relying to, because, oh yeah, that's an awesome part, and so yeah, but no, I just don't feel it. And you're just like, okay, just like
yeah, sometimes
so for me,
I actually think that's a good thing. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was going to say, I think that's a good thing to have someone to say, okay, I don't feel it. I think that allows a chance for you to push yourself further as a musician and artist and individual, I think.
It doesn't mean that I'm always right, but the thing is, it's not about being right or wrong. It's about the honesty that you want to put yourself. How deep do you want to go? And that was the biggest challenge for Ben, because, you know, it could have been very easy to do the same, to do a different version of what we did in the past, and that we knew worked, that we knew, okay, we can do like 30-minute song, but as long as we have a 4-minute version, You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's always that in the back of your mind. So me, I was like, I didn't care at all. So I guess that's why people are calling that music progressive or something, because probably because it doesn't have any sense in any of those songs. So that must be progressive music.
Yeah, and that's
And
exactly that.
experimental.
Yeah, yeah, and I think yeah, that's why I was really excited to talk about Ben, because I know it's I think it's important to share that, with some people who know about the work that you do intimately, and with the work,
Yeah.
the
But also
lyricism. Yeah.
to his credit, I think that Ben really was disposed to he made himself available emotionally.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can just work and do your thing and you do your magic. It's awesome and it's great. But I think that he really immersed himself in those songs, to the point where when we were talking or sharing, it wasn't about like, oh, it wasn't about riffs. It was about sections. It was like, okay, but this is something that, oh, what's that? Just like, oh, that's very interesting. And it was, some of those songs were tracked live. I had like an amazing studio in Montreal. We transformed like a church into a professional studio, but I did most of the vocals here in Virginia, in a place where, you can hear, everything
Mhm.
outside, and it was just a different setup. I just wanted to be real, and that's
Yeah.
something that was that was the most important thing for me.
Do you see standing under bright lights as a snapshot of where you are in a certain time in your life, looking back?
I think it was at, the record Windows in the Sky was an emotional and personal moment of intimacy, while Standing on the Bright Lights was taking a chance to connect with the people beyond the music and beyond the
Hmm.
words, but through the words and music. It's kind of weird, but just to go to stand under that light, you're just like, well, to assume and to take ownership, but at the same time to say, look, it's let's commune, let's create something, let's see if all together we can experience something that would be so special that we'll know, like, down the road. So, and that's why it took some time before I even like thought about, oh yeah, we should like release that album or that concert. It was the first concert I ever did with this in this setup of those songs. So it
Yeah.
was really not something that I was looking for. For me, the only thing that mattered was to really connect with the people and just to say, well, thank you for, honestly, it was just like, well, thank you for having me. Thank you for giving me a chance to share that with you and to honor my father's memory, and you know, to discover those songs from all different angles, and to be uplifted by that moment that we share. So that was really about it. The rest of it, I would have freaked out if anyone would have told me like, oh, we should do like a record or a movie with this and this and this and this. It would have been like a real disaster. So I'm glad that nobody told me anything beforehand, that it was only for us, that, no, don't worry, Alex, don't worry, we'll deal that later. So
Yeah, no, no, thank you for doing what you did. And I think it's okay. In light of the songs not losing their energy, just their impact, let's make the next show with Dallas. So I know you don't do a
oh
lot of
man,
shows. We'll
but
figure that we should do that. That should be
but
perfect.
what's crazy is, with that concert, it was supposed to be a one-off thing. I did it great, just like releasing the record before. So I'm done, conscience clean, let's move on. But then through that uplift, I found a lot of comfort, and a lot of it's
Yeah,
like I was able to reconcile myself with a lot of
yeah,
things that maybe I didn't want to touch no more, or I was afraid of, to be under, public eye, and all those things that I was like so afraid of, that I was like so miserable um, to go through. So then I was like slowly able, through the people's support and uplift, I was able to kind of reconcile myself with all those emotions, and to say, well, it's okay to appreciate that moment. It's okay to to say, oh wow, that was very good. I'm very happy and I'm very at peace and I'm wow. And just after to say, well, it's not weird to just to be happy, you know, just like, oh, okay, that was very different for me as well. And after that, I said, well, maybe I might be open to do some moments like that in different setup, different cities. So I went to Germany. I was invited there. So we had like a few shows. I had the same feeling. I said, okay, it was Montreal was not even like some kind of a weird thing that happened that was nice. So Germany was cool too. Then I had like another time like residency in New York, 3 nights. Oh, okay, still those I don't feel like those songs are losing their nature. In the contrary, they're they're able to bloom without me like trying to hold everything for myself. Just like don't touch it. It's my personal life. It's my intimacy. And then I saw those songs blooming to the point where when I've been invited to tour in Europe, that was the test for me. I said, if I'm able to go and play for, I don't know, 30 shows in a row and to come back home and to say, well, I'm still discovering things about those songs, then it means that I'm at the right place at the right time. And this is really what happened. And that's why when I decided to release that record, it was because I felt and I felt not only good about it, but enthusiastic about discovering through other people's eyes what that concert was about, but also what those songs are about.
I want to leave you off with this here. From the different experiences and perspectives in your timeline that you have taken in, which you've discussed about so far, you know, whether it's being artistic with your solo work, The Riddlers, Your Favorite Enemies, Long Shadows, earning the well-deserved worldwide recognition with the award and nominations and touring, Canada, Europe, Asia, Australia, Africa, you know, being an advocate and sort of a leader for human rights and social activism, publishing the books you have, you've experienced so much and then some, Alex, you know, and like I said earlier, you are one of the most humble guests I've ever had on here, and it's been such an honor. But what is the most rewarding part for someone like you who is now at this point in their career, at the same time, has been involved with so many other different aforementioned brilliant artists, organizations, people throughout those junctures, did all that just play a part in helping you grow as an individual and as an artist? In other words, do you ever stop to take a look back at how far you've come?
That's a good question. I think that the most precious part for me is to be grateful about it all, because I've been able to do that without losing myself. And I was about to, and I'm still struggling about it, because it's like I'll always be in that position where, you know, fighting depression and that kind of like illness. But I'm just happy that I've been able to, yeah, to appreciate things. I'm happy that I can appreciate things now. I never look back, to be quite honest, to say, wow, this is what I did. I mean, to be able to appreciate life now, for me, just from my perspective, it's such an incredible victory. But I know that it's a daily struggle that I need to remind myself every day. You know, when it's difficult for me, when I'm struggling emotionally, when I have like to face the, you know, the shame of still being in that struggling dimension of my life. But I'm just happy that I'm looking to my friends and we're having a good time, and we came from nothing, but even though we experienced all that, what we kept was the most precious thing of all, which was our friendship. For me, that's the community. That the rest of it, you know, I might, you know, it's great, it's awesome, and I'm very thankful and grateful for everything that I had and that I've been able to experience and create. But honestly, just when I like what's very important for me is to say, well, to look at my friends, it's crazy, guys, you know, just to realize that and just like look at us, you know, just like
Yeah.
it's not look at us what we accomplish. It's just like, you know, we always promised ourselves to stop when our friendship won't be at the center of everything. and we had our times. It was difficult at some points. Had a little bit of a break, but the friendship was always what we had to protect among all things. Just whatever the career, whatever all the things that it doesn't matter, because I can sit today and just like look at all the trophies and books and records and feel good about myself. But I mean, that would be so sad. That would be such a miserable way to live your life. Me, I look to, when, just to give you an example, Sonny, when doing those interviews, I'm very nervous. That's why I'm always talking.
I love it. That's good. I used to be nervous for these things. I was like, should I just keep talking or what? You're doing it for me. So we're on the same level. We're on the same spectrum here, man. I get it. I totally get it.
So just to give you an example, like before the interview, my friends will text, send me jokes just because they know that I'm freaking out. Oh, okay, well,
really?
Sure, yeah. And they know that after first thing I'm gonna do, just like call them, said, so how was it? Yeah, I kept talking a lot. That's the thing that I need to work on. And then everybody will crack and laugh. But that's the relationship. That's the intimacy that makes everything worth, the joy, the sadness, the pain, whatever, the exaltation, because you've got people that you care about that you can share with those emotions. Otherwise, it's just like, it's great, but it doesn't have any purpose. So for me, that's really what's precious to me. And that's why I'm so, I feel so blessed, and I'm so grateful that I can look and still be with those guys. I don't know if they feel the same, but
I'm sure they do. We'll call them out.
I don't know.
Hey, this podcast is going to be everywhere. It will be on iTunes, Spotify, whatever. We're going to make sure they know. What did I say earlier? I mean, if it wasn't for your music, I wouldn't be here today. So again, it's an honor to just even be able to talk about anything with you. And I feel like I said, we could talk about hours and hours about just the weirdest shit. And
well, I know that I can talk for hours, so you better stop that thing.
Hey, listen, I've done 100 of these, and this has been one of my favorites I've done. For my listeners who don't know, I talk a lot, obviously they know that. And finally, I have a guest who talks more than I do. This is good. I love it.
That's good. Well, that's good. I don't know if it's that good. We'll see. They will tell us.
No, they will. Man, Alex, this has been such an honor again. Do you have any, before I leave you things up, do you have any last words, any shout outs, is anything you would like to plug in as far as standing under bright lights, or maybe even your favorite enemies going forward? I don't know if you can.
I don't know yet. This is not something that it's really in the that I'm envisioning right now, because I've got so many other things that I want to do, and I don't want to go back to your favorite enemies just for the sake of doing it and to take people hostage of something. Oh yeah, we need to do that, and it's
yeah.
No, you don't.
No, it's whatever you want to do, man.
Yeah, exactly. So,
you get to choose your own timeline.
I'm more in the creative motion now. And if I have anything to say, to just thank you, and thank you for your time, for allowing me to be myself, to make you really made me comfortable before the interview. I'm very, very thankful, and be safe. I mean, I know that you guys in Texas now, you're mask free. So I know that everything is bigger in Texas. Everything is bigger in Texas,
bro. My mask, dude, it's crazy. My mask was it was this big last March, and now it's this big. So I have a stack of them just sitting on my shelf. I'm just do I even wear this? The worst part is if you go out with a mask, people will make fun of you. Now, people anti-maskers or whatever they're called. They'll just say, oh, hey, he's wearing a mask, and I should probably say something. And I don't know, man. It is what it is.
The good thing is, it means that even the virus is scared of that great spirit of Texas.
There you go.
So that's awesome. No, I'm just kidding. But
no,
yeah, just be safe, guys. But be safe. And I know it's been a long time. It's very just distressing, that period. But I mean, let's really focus on what's very let's remain hopeful, because this is what we need to feed ourselves with and to share. So, and and hold on, I'm gonna be in Dallas in no time.
Yes, and we will stay in touch. And everyone is listening, Speaking of, staying busy, make sure you guys pick up that live album, Standing Under Bright Lights, comes out April 16th on Hopeful Tragedy. Alex Henry Foster, what a legend, man. You are a legend. And I can't wait till we do this again. And you can listen to this podcast on Spotify, iTunes, any major podcast stream you have. Check us out on interviewonfire.com. Alex, you stay safe too. And I'll talk to you next time, buddy.
Thank you, brother.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to Interview Under Fire podcast. If you guys liked what you heard, please subscribe and share our channel. And please leave a 5-star review, as that helps us tremendously. And also, if you guys have any questions or comments, you can find us at Interview Under Fire at Facebook or at Instagram. Or you can write us directly at schwag@interviewunderfire.com. That's SCHWAG at interviewunderfire.com. Or Rezablade, that's REZABLADE at interviewunderfire.